They're notified
Okay.
viewers.
Okay. We are live across everywhere on here.
You had the
And
same thought I did with the scary background.
oh, this is my normal background for all the shows.
Oh, it is? Oh,
Yep,
okay.
I always put up a cemetery.
I found a stock image. I thought it would be nice with the jack-o'-lantern, and then I have the scary woods on TikTok with
Oh,
the
awesome.
mushrooms. So they're probably thinking it's crazy that I'm wearing glasses though, because I don't usually wear my glasses on lives on TikTok. So
Okay, let's start by introducing ourselves. Hi, I'm Friday. I am an author, I am a podcaster, and all around book dragon mom. And this is my best buddy and sister, Mel. Well, I should say that way.
other
So
way.
introduce yourself, because this is the first time you've been on my channels.
Hi, I'm Melanie, or Paramour Concubine on TikTok, and I'm a mom. I am a student in school again. And I'm also many things. I'm a housekeeper, content creator, and yoga teacher.
Awesome. Oh, yeah, I forgot to play our beginning. Normally, I do that before we start. So let me go ahead and play the special introduction video.
I love that beginning. You did so great.
Yay! So, yeah. How did we should probably tell how we chose to do the Nightmare Whispers trilogy. I have become
Okay.
I've become a part of the Fae Corps Publishing, and I've loved all the stories and meeting all the authors. And when we got started talking about doing the stories, these had just come out, and we had started reading from those. And later, she read from one of my stories in one of the later anthologies that is up on both channels. And that is how I got started with Fae Corps. How did you decide to join me?
Well, through you, because I'm your sister. And well, we grew up on scary stories, that's for sure. And through your help, you also introduced me to all of the wonderful people involved. And I'm going to hold up the book for the TikTok live, so they can see what we're reading from. Other than that, I try to help out here and there with pictures and reading stories just because I love the stories myself. And all of y'all are great people.
And speaking about Fae Corps, their newest anthology, Dark Dreams, Letting in the Night and Letting in the Day, she's in Letting in the Night and I'm in Letting in the Day, are coming out on the 27th. And I hope you guys go check out my story, all the other amazing stories, and her beautiful art.
I'm so excited about that.
Her first time being published, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, which story did you choose?
Well, today I chose to read The City of Broken Dreams by Brittany MacDonald.
Okay, I'm going to bring you up so you're full screen on my end and you get started and then I'll read mine. Sound good?
You were supposed to go first.
Oh, yeah. Well, I forgot. Well, I'll go first. I'll bring me up as full screen, and then I'll do her. I need a nap.
I can read
There are way
first.
too many children in my
It's
house.
okay.
You'll go first?
Okay, I can read first. That's okay. I'll read first. Okay.
I forgot.
Like we said, it's from the Nightmare Whispers collection by Fae Corps Inc. Again, I'll hold it up one more time for the people that just now joined, if I can get it to show up through the background. There it goes.
We are reading from What Remains, if you get the separate ones.
Yeah.
We just wanted the omnibus for our keep collection.
Alrighty, so I will begin. The City of Broken Dreams. Yes, I'm aware the cases are climbing again. The brunette muttered into the phone, her brow furrowing in frustration. No, we haven't figured out why the symptoms are worse this time. Yes, She clamped her jaw shut, anger boiling in her veins, as the woman on the other end screamed at her. She was tired of having to field 3 or more calls a day about a virus no one knew anything about. She was fed up with being made to feel like they were all scum and not doing enough, while the talents that called her did nothing but force her into this daily calls. If only they would come down from their lofty towers, they would see the destruction that was looming. If only they would help them, give them more resources to combat the disease. Yes, Madame Strumpfiggery. If we learn of anything new about the virus, you'll be the first to know. Yes, all right, goodbye. Having a heavy sigh, she leaned back in her chair after hanging up the phone, running her hands over her face. When had things gone so terribly wrong? When they jumped through the portal, most of the refugees had lost their magic. 2 sorcerers and all the bards and barderesses had managed to maintain theirs. The ones with magic promptly took control of the new land, forming a ruling party. They called themselves the Talents, and those that had lost their magic, like Nissa, were labeled the Talentless. There were rumors that others had retained their magic, but once the talents caught wind, they'd disappear. With the sudden onset of the virus and the unrest that had been brewing due to the unfair treatment of the talentless, many people thought they had devised this as yet another way to control them. Anything to keep their grip on the power they had given themselves. Anything to keep from falling from grace. New whispers were flying with the new cases appearing. Many thought the talents had underestimated the virus and they'd lost control of it. And Nissa was beginning to wonder if they were right. Walking death. That's what they were calling the virus. That was picking off the refugees faster than they could count. It had appeared 6 months ago, presenting in a young Fae child, only 6 years old. At first, the symptoms were mild, mimicking the signs of a cold, runny nose, sore throat, and a cough. Nothing they hadn't seen before, here or on Avilier. 2 weeks later, they began changing, mutating at a rapid rate. Phenomena, bronchitis, or sorry, pneumonia and bronchitis, and a burning rash. While it had been difficult for some to keep up with the changes and the rapid increase in cases, the brunette had relied heavily on her knowledge of herbs to help combat the symptoms. Everything was easily managed. Something had changed. Scattered across her desk were pages and pages of notes on the disease, limbs rotted and putrid, bleeding from eyes and ears, teeth falling out, and arteries erupting. There was even a report from 2 towns over that one corpse had came back to life and tried to attack the nurse in the room. It was quickly put down and a sample taken before they had burnt it. Her husband had gone missing after stepping through the portal. They had been separated in what she told herself. So she had been throwing herself into her work. She'd spent countless hours poring over endless labs and temperature checks. She'd watched the disease destroy healthy cells in a matter of minutes. She had held the hands of more people dying than she cared to admit, and cried after every single one of them died. Healthy, innocent people were dying. It wasn't supposed to be this way. It wasn't supposed to be this hard. A blood-curdling shriek rang out, and she was on her feet in seconds, running for the door of her office, pulling the mask on her face. She hit the hallway. She could smell the familiar metallic smell of blood. Clenching her jaw, she ran towards the screaming. She entered the room and slid in a pool of blood on the floor. The patient's artery had ruptured, making him bleed out in a matter of seconds. And the screaming, oh, the screaming, was coming from his young pregnant wife. Nothing could be done for the young halfling patient, so she moved over to his wife, a woman named Ascara. Ascara, Ascara, she called out, ducking her head to force the woman to look at her. You can't be in here. We need to get out. We need to get you out. Come with me. I'm not leaving him. Don't make me leave him, Nissa, she cried, trying to fight Empath off. Nissa held strong and took the woman's beating until she collapsed into her arms. Don't make me leave him, she sobbed, blood-covered hands gripping the white coat. Whispering soothing words, Nissa led the woman into a quiet room with chairs and a table, sending a nurse for some water, and sat with Ascara until she settled. A soft knock on the door revealed a cleric, and while they could no longer bring someone back, they still offered comfort to the ones that were left behind. Taking her leave, she stepped into the hall and steadied herself against the wall. The room spun for a moment, faces blurring, and the sounds of chaos fading away to nothing as the brunette stood in the middle of it all and closed her eyes. When she had stepped through the portal all those years ago, never did she think they would be facing chaos like this. It was supposed to be better, their promised land. But this wasn't promised land. This was hell on earth. The sounds rushed back, hitting her like a ton of bricks, and she inhaled sharply, eyes flying open. All around her, people were rushing past with gurneys filled with people dying, gasping for air, praying to the old gods and new to save them. But the old gods had no power here. And honestly, the new gods didn't seem to have a handle on anything either. All these poor, unfortunate souls had to save them were empaths with no magic, who were just as lost as everyone else. It is. Get over here, her colleague shouted, and she ran over, pulling her stethoscope from around her neck and fitting it in her ears as she listened to the rundown. She's just the same as the others. Fever, trouble breathing. She can't keep anything down, and her heart rate is erratic. Her skin is starting to peel. Nissa met Effie's gaze across the patient between them. They were out of ventilators. Not 24 hours ago, Effie and she had spoken about this exact scenario. They both say it, if things didn't start improving, they were going to have to start deciding who lived and who died. Less than 24 hours later, they were living it. Who is she? Tell me about her, Nissa asked, gently pushing on the patient's chest, watching closely for changes. Her name is Asana, 25, human originally from Bontra. Effie paused before meeting Sia's gaze. She has 2 kids at home. Her heart skipped a beat as the Fae's words sunk in, running over the patients already ventilated in her head. One jumped out. Esselin. She was an older F. She lived a long life, and before she was ventilated, she had made Nissa promise that if someone younger came in who needed the ventilator, that she'd take it off her. Closing her eyes for a moment, she finally spoke. Keep her hydrated. I'll be back. Nissa, where are you? Effie asked, but the elf was already gone. She left emergent care, ripping her mask off and throwing it into the bin. Jogging down the hall, she headed for the isolation wing, only stopping when she reached the observation window. Her heart was racing, her eyes filled with tears, and she wanted nothing more than to keep running. This was not what she wanted. This was not what she had signed up for. She'd been able to save everyone at one point. She hadn't had to make these decisions. She didn't want this responsibility. Scrubbing her hands, she gowned up completely with a mask covering her nose and mouth. Entering the isolation wing was as eerie as it was heartbreaking. The sounds of machines humming to keep these people alive, the beeping of heart monitors, and the hiss of air. Slow, measured steps carried her to Aslan's bedside, and she sat down in the chair provided. She was quiet for a moment, taking in the peaceful expression on the woman's face. How she didn't look a day over 300 at 683. She'd never know. It wasn't fair of you to make me promise that, she spoke softly, her words thick with emotion. I know why you requested it, but why did it have to be me? Reaching out, she took the woman's hand in her own, a gloved thumb running lightly over the wrinkled skin. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't do this without you here. Her eyes burned and teared. Tears began to fall as she blinked, Leaning forward, she pressed the woman's hand to her forehead as a heart-wrenching sob escaped. She gripped her hand, the sheets on the bed, as if they were the only things keeping her afloat, the only things giving her hope. "Don't make me do this. Please wake up. Please," she sobbed, begging the woman, pleading for any sign of improvement. "I don't want this." Her body shook with her ragged sobs, releasing all her fears, her doubts, and her suspicions. Through her tears, her mask was soaked by the time she started to settle down, and she used her own gown to wipe her face. A sad laugh left her lips as she looked at the woman. "Do you remember when I fell down the steps at our estate and scraped my knee? I started crying, and you scooped me up and held me, kissed my hands until I felt better. You promised me that you'd always be there when I needed you, that I'd never be alone." She paused for a moment to maintain her composure, to swallow down her emotions. "I don't want to be alone, grandmother." Letting out a shaky breath, she rose to her feet and smoothed the woman's hair. Leaning down, she pressed her cheek to the older woman's and breathed in her scent one last time. She pressed a masked kiss to her forehead and let another tear roll down her face. The tears continued falling as she turned to the machines and slowly, one by one, turned them off. The silence was defining, and she stayed by her grandmother's side until she drew her last breath and her heart stopped. She hurried back to prep the room and stripped all of her gear off, slamming them into the garbage can before kicking the metal container. It took her a moment more to regain her composure, and once she did, she stepped into the hall. Effie, bless her heart, nearly walked into her, and she gasped softly, "There you are. Are you all right? Have you decided?" Effie was cut off as Nissan pushed her past her. "Give her Eslin's." Blinking in surprise, Effie called after her friend. "Eslin's? Are you sure?" But Nissan didn't answer. Effie would have her answer as soon as she walked into the isolation room. The sounds of the machines, the shouting of voices, it was all too much. She had been dealing with every single day since this started. She couldn't anymore. Jogging to the exit, stopping only when she reached outside, her emotions finally came to a head. A sour taste hit her mouth, and she had just enough time to reach the garbage can before everything in her stomach came up. And Aviller, they could help everyone. They could save everyone. She didn't sign up for playing God. She didn't want this burden. A frustrated scream left her lips as she sank to the ground, back pressed against the brick wall. Slender fingers covered her face as tears began to fall. So much had happened in so little time. Losing her husband, the virus, running rapid, losing the control she'd had over her life. And now her grandmother was gone. But her husband was out there somewhere. She knew he was, but she didn't know where. She didn't know if he was okay. She didn't know anything. The only thing she knew for sure was that if Azra hadn't already had her soul, he would have it by the end of this. Thanks for listening.
I always enjoy you reading. And that story just after COVID, that just
I know it hits
right
different.
in your heart.
It hits way different, especially talking about the virus. Oh, I know. I was almost in tears.
I could tell how many people working in the medical field have had those same just drop to the floor crying because they're overwhelmed because there's no way to do anything.
Mm-hmm. Your human emotion don't want to leave all the people that needs help, but you're getting to your breaking point. You're just, it's too awful.
That was like, wow. Okay, let's see what other scariness we can find with Valkyrie Howard's The Nightmare Machine. This should be interesting.
Oh, just 1 second. Everyone that has joined on the live, can you hear my sister? Like, if you can't hear her very well, you can always log into her YouTube and watch her in live because she's about to start with her story. And what is your YouTube again?
The Owlite Network.
The Owlite Network. If you can't hear her correctly on here, if you want to log in on YouTube, she's fixing to start her story. But
And
I'm going to keep it up here too.
Let them know they can go back and re-listen on the Owlite Network or the Corpse Garden Chronicles page.
Thanks for letting me know, author. Yes, and if you missed part of that story, you can log in on the
Owlite
Network or the Corpse Garden Chronicles, because we'll be uploading the video on there as well. But she's fixing to start her story now. Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Let's do this. Okay. Let's see what nightmares Valkyrie Howard has given us. Okay, first off, I might as well start this off with an introduction. My name is Trenton, and until recently, I worked at one of the number of top secret facilities studying dreams. Ours, though, in specific studied the darker side of dreaming, nightmares. Now you may find it a bit ridiculous when I tell you exactly what we are doing in this field. I don't blame you. So did I, but a paycheck was a paycheck, and I told myself, even if my employees seemed a bit whack, so I took the job. Security detail, sorry, at the local mall was getting a bit boring. Anyway, the job requirements were surprisingly low, so that, along with the pay raise and change of scenery, seemed like a good deal to me at the time. A deal I wish I'd never made. Now I don't don't get me wrong, the job itself was a breeze and my new employer was great to all of us as long as you could put up with the various doctors and techs running around the place like coffee-driven ants spouting technical jargon only they understood. But you learned pretty quick to just keep out of their way. They wouldn't spare us security personnel a second glass most of the time. My job was easy. Sometimes it seemed too easy, even when there was actually shit to do. At least until they moved me into the box. The box was where the magic happened, so to speak. A large room containing a big, thick, bulletproof glass chamber with an airlock door at the front and just enough room for a person to walk around its perimeter. The room was connected by various wires and tubes, even a small monitor display wedged in one of the corners of the glass box, to another, a much smaller room. It was this second room where some of our clients were taken. The second room only contained two items: a strap in chair similar to a dental chair, and a large, complicated machine that took the whole back wall, connected both to the chair via a headset, and the box next door with a tangle of tubes and wires. I actually found this set up, and it's really quite interesting after the initial shock and disgust of being sent into the box. To hit one of the few buttons on the wall by the inside of the door to douse a naturally large spider use. Okay, I've gotten lost in the sentence. Sorry. I actually found the setup and its results quite interesting after the initial shock and disgust of being sent into a box to hit one of the few buttons on the wall by the inside of the door to douse an unnaturally large spider in some debilitating gas and drag it out to a waiting cart a few minutes, waiting for its frantic scrabbling at the glass immediately in front of me to cease. You see, we didn't just study nightmares there, we brought them to life. Hold on one second. Sorry, I had help with the kids, they lost one. No, I don't know what would possess anyone to want to buy up a large dog sized arachnid, perhaps by. Okay. You see, we didn't. Sorry. I'm going to start where I think I left off. This is all going wrong because I just got attacked by a kid.
It's
You
okay.
see,
Wait. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath.
okay, I don't normally mess up like this, but
I know. You're just nervous. It's okay. Go ahead.
yes, I thought I had help with the kids. This isn't working right. Next time I'm going to ask him to make sure he keeps them.
Yeah.
You see, we didn't just study nightmare there, we brought them to life, and off they went to the highest bidder after a few days in a holding cell where the lab scientists studied their newest monstrosity and its limits and habits. No, I don't know what would possess anyone to want to buy up a large dog-sized arachnid. Perhaps they defanged them like snakes and kept them as pets. Or Hollywood was getting bored with crappy CGI and unrealistic props and robots, and were using them for their latest horror blockbusters. I didn't ask, and they never told. All the locals knew was that this was the place to go to get rid of your worst and most persistent nightmares, and it worked. Recently, though, the boss has been pushing for turning away from your typical arachnophobes and other common terror victims in search of more exotic beings. Humanoid figures were gaining ground with some of our other clients. The buyers and we'd already made a killing off of small family groups of our typical shambling, rotting zombies. So that's where we focused our attention. We used our aptly and simply named Nightmare Machine to collect a few more zombies and toothy, eyeless monstrosities, only vaguely human, one creepy, grinning dog for old time's sake, and a few shadowy black figures that proved difficult to round up and chip off due to their somewhat ethereal forms. At least that's what they told me to explain one of the damn things falling through the cart, trying to wander off as it started to regain consciousness before we could get it back on top of the damn thing instead of inside it. Our standard containment measures proved enough to handle them, though. Once we got them safely moved, but that minor breach should have been enough warning of what was to come to stop the program right there. Of course, it didn't. It wasn't going to stop until the money stopped flowing, and that's all the boss got to caring about anymore until someone stopped it for him. I know I should have bailed right then and there, but something urged me to stay. Maybe a bit of growing greed had begun to infect me too, or maybe some part of me dis that had become disenchanted with this whole twisted operation longed to see it all go up in flames. I guess it really doesn't matter now, though. What's done is done, and I don't think I'll ever have an answer for what happened last. Yesterday, out like any other day, another little boy was brought in by hopeful parents looking to rid her child of his fears and went and sent them back home after a short session in the chair while I went to fetch brand new pair of zombies. Hilariously undead versions of the mother that just walked out and presumably the kid's father. I couldn't stop but laugh at the thought of their reactions if they ever came face to face with their son's undead versions of them as I lured them out of the box with a small cut of raw steak and quickly looped ropes around each of their torsos to pin down their grasping arms like some parody of a cowboy so they could be flipped headfirst into the waiting cart and hauled off before our next client arrived. Zombies were always easy money, slow, stupid, and always classic. I waved the gaping things off as I returned to my post in the doorway of the machine and waited for the next round. Our next and soon to be last client was a bit older than I was used to seeing. Although her age wasn't completely unheard of showing up here on rare occasion, the girl in question was young, typically blonde, accompanied by both her parents. I don't pay much attention to any of our clients by this point, though I hardly noticed her turning her head nervously to look behind her almost impulsively a few times as the group led by Dr. Reed shuffled past me into the small room, almost missing her final glance back before returning and whispering to her mother, "They can make him go away, right, Mom?" She, of course, shushed her with quiet reassurances as she shepherded her past me, and the doctor backed her up. "Why, yes, of course we can. That's what we're all here for today." He grinned widely and pushed her towards the chair, continuing to speak before anyone else had the chance. "Now just sit right here and—" I tuned him out, having heard this speech thousands of times over by now, just waiting on the newest baddie to be siphoned from another person's imagination so I can wrap him up in a nice and shiny bow and clean up for the day. I'd be collecting my paycheck and going home to open up a can of bear to keep up company while I shifted through the local channels before calling it a day and heading to bed. I was thinking about this simple yet effective plan when Reed broke me out of my reverie with a nod towards the large padded door just down the hall as he shepherded the trio out and back towards the impressive lobby of the building, signaling me to get to work on today's last order. Admittedly, what waited me behind the door in the box wasn't exactly what I was expecting, and what I think anyone else was. What I mean is, well, it looked just too human. The thing appeared to be a young man, probably in his 30s, sporting an all brown classic cowboy outfit complete with spurred boots and hat. There were, however, a few dissimilarities between the thing and a regular human being. One was his unnaturally coal black skin. Another, his blood red eyes that almost seemed to glow with a strange malicious light. Another thing I noticed about it was its grin. It stood there with a whimsical, almost comical expression on its face, still a statue. I couldn't even think the thing was breathing until its until between his lips I could catch a sharp, jagged, predatory teeth. Definitely not the kind I wanted digging into my flesh anytime soon. I shuddered at the thought as I turned away to hit a couple of buttons on the wall console. Inputting standard procedures for neutralizing shadow creatures for transportation. After a moment's deliberation. Obviously, I didn't know what it actually was, but the black skin and red eyes were standard of the classification. Although those clothes definitely weren't, but I did my best with what I had to go off of. After waiting the few minutes arbitrar- arbitrarily standardized for ensuring the required effects for transportation took place, I turned back to the box and froze. The damn thing hadn't budged an inch. Now, I weakly laughed, mumbling to myself that perhaps the monster was broken, but approached the airlock in the front of the box nonetheless. This happened a few times already with creatures that apparently hadn't been granted the knowledge of gravity by their maker before being cast away. So, after a few thoughtful seconds, still without change, I figured I'd just have to lug the thing out of there like an awkward cardboard cutout and hand it over to the day's collector. I only glanced down for a second to reach the door's handle when I realized something had finally changed. I stared, horrified, at the thing as it appeared much closer to the door, no longer in the box center where it had been spawned into the world from that of imagination. It had the biggest damn smile I'd ever seen on its face. The malice was palpable. As it stared me down, an evil imp's glint in its eyes before it was simply gone. I jumped at the suddenness of it, looked frantically about for the thing, but it was nowhere to be found in the container, as if simply blinked back out of existence again after only a short stay. Now, this was the thing about our nightmare machine. What had made it so dangerous about beginning long before I'd been hired? We couldn't uncreate what it had brought to life. Yes, we could kill it, turning it most beings into black fog that quickly dissipated if needed, but they just never ever disappeared. My mind was still reeling from the new information. Uh, when the lights flickered and I heard the first scream, dear God, had it somehow escaped and attacked someone, or worse? Worse being it had let someone else out to play, and we had plenty of choices accumulated over the years. Zombies, big spiders had long ago become playthings in light of some of the monstrosities. It was no wonder we had no buyers for it. Some were too monstrous, while others too dangerous to chance letting out of our careful care. I pulled my small standard pistol out of its holster as a large white creature burst into the room, trailing blood from its too large maw and letting out a too human screech as it immediately received a bullet to its skull. I never liked those fuckers anyway. Damn carnivorous rabbits. A moment later, I raised my gun towards the hallway ceiling as I heard the scutter of many legs moving rapidly down the hallway from the direction of the cages. A huge black centipede, like a creature with a single big blood red eye, dropped down and gone just as quickly, a pool of fresh blood, the only remaining sign of the monster rabbit's bulk. I quickly backed right into the box behind me, wishing to put as much distance between me and the unfolding hell right outside the open door, wishing now I'd closed it behind me even once in my time here when the thing I knew had started all appeared in front of me, suddenly as it had vanished only a couple minutes prior. I tried to lurch to the side, determined to not be pinned to the glass at my back, the thing, but it caught me easily mid step, almost as if nothing more than a disobedient child, and grinned again at me with those gleaming white shark's teeth before the world tilted. Dazed, I looked around, confused for a second before realizing two things. One, that now I was now myself inside of impenetrable glass box, and the other that I couldn't breathe. I bent over, gasping for air, but that wasn't where I looked up at the thing now standing by the door, fiddling with the same controls know I now know it had watched me use minutes prior to its escape and willed myself to stay conscious. It seemed like an eternity before the creature appeared to make up its mind, hitting a button. I winced at the sudden hiss of air, certain it had made up its mind to find more creative ways of killing me than suffocation. When I realized I could breathe again, the bastard had reopened the air vents to the chamber and now turned to me, taking a dramatic bow, grinning wider than ever before blinking back out of existence, leaving me with nothing to do other than sitting here with a in this god awful prison and watch the occasional monstrosity wander by, paying me and the room no attention. The now muffled screams of my dying co-workers and rare bloodied body scrambling desperately for the exit ended soon enough. I'm sitting here now with the same annoying ass shadow figure from the last week that had fallen through the cart, staring me down through the glass. Its skewed logic won't let it phase through, thinking it must really be it must be really lonely individuals that buy these creepy things up to stare at them and night long all day and night long, and get uncomfortably close whenever they feel you're no longer paying attention to them. When the piece of shit himself appeared suddenly, I almost wish the dark, nearly featureless creep beside me could get into the box without an open door, because I'd take the otherwise harmless paranoia inducing shadow figure over that too. Human brown body suit clad monster any day. Now that right there is a real monster. Not like the attention grabbing bother lingering around the corner of the box trying to press claustrophobically close to my warm living form, or any of the various animalistic creatures now roaming the halls. At the end of the day, they really were just animals, grotesque and oversized, but animals. This creature, on the other hand, is just patiently standing there with an evil intelligence gleaming behind its unnatural, burning coal eyes, an intelligence no one ever seen before any other monstrosity produced here to date. It's the look of being known it's alive, worse, knows what it's doing is terrible, and enjoys the suffering it created. I've been sitting here shaking for probably the last 10 minutes as I type this up on my phone, and it stood there unblinking, unbreathingly the whole fucking time. I don't know what it wants with me or why it wouldn't let me die with everyone else last night, but I'm more scared than ever by just how patient it seems to be. like it's politely waiting for me to finish and hit send so I can unveil the next horror uninterrupted. It seems to want to say something, so I'm about to put down my phone and finally face this nightmare head on. I hope whoever picks this up will know what to do with it. I know most of the other facilities I know of have been shut down or destroyed by now, but not all of them. I hope the emergency locks worked and it doesn't open them up too before someone can firebomb the whole cursed place. Shit, I wish I had more time to shout out a few people close to me, but I swear it's getting closer now. I'll leave with this warning. If you hear about a new cure for bad dreams or a place that can bring an end to all your nightmares, don't go to them. Move out of the area before it's too late. I'm sorry, everyone. Goodbye. So that is very like wow.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take a zombie over a giant spider any day. And
I would
forget
too.
the giant centipede thingy, too. No. Mm-mm. Can't do it. I'm out.
No,
Bye. It's time to burn it down. Burn it down and leave it.
I
Even
agree.
Rowdy agrees.
Hi, Rowdy. Of course, we have to have the puppy. Our viewers will go up now that we have a puppy.
Yeah. He was listening. He had to join the fun.
That
So,
works.
yeah, nope. I'd take a zombie over a giant.
Pardon me.
Mm-mm. But see,
So,
that's,
which one was scarier of the two we visited today? The
I,
virus one or the nightmare machine?
I'm going to say the nightmare machine just because I guess
We lived
COVID
through
kind of
COVID,
made
and
me, it raised the fear of the virus more, but
Mhm.
it's kind of like been there, done that, but definitely nope. See, I would be screwed because my nightmares are mostly of giant arachnids trying to kill me or kill my loved ones, so I'd be screwed.
that I understand. I don't want my nightmares to come alive, and I've come to the conclusion I don't want, under any circumstances, of all the people I've met, to see Serena Marshgrave's or Raz T. Slasher's nightmares to come loose.
Oh,
I've read them. I don't want to meet them.
definitely not.
Or Stephen King's. No,
Right? Well, see, that's the thing. You always think your nightmares are so bad until you read somebody else's, and then you're just like, maybe mine aren't so bad.
No, I don't want to have the nightmare machine. I don't want to go to Riverside and meet the monsters there. Just no, or Derry. No, don't want to do Derry.
No, thank you. Nope. Mm-mm. Well, speaking of Stephen King, um,
hmm
I don't know that movie he made. I forgot. I always confuse it with other. Is it The Mist or The Fog with the giant spiders and everything?
I think it's The Mist is
The
what
Mist.
it was called. The Fog is something totally different and not by Stephen King.
Well, like, see, I watched that once, and kind of like the story you just read, the ending, I can't take it. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
I watched that. I think I've watched all the versions of The Fog more than I've watched The Mist. And there's
Ah.
like 3 versions of The Fog.
Mm. Well, I used to remember the Stephen King stories that you read when we were smaller, but it's been a
Oh, yeah.
while.
Well, that's fine. I think the only ones that I would say definitely go through and read yourself is the Dark Tower series. That one's my absolute favorite.
Like I said, no giant arachnids. I'm good.
No, the other giant things, like a bear, um, turtles, and there's like 12 others, but they're the supposed to be the guardians of the gates. But yeah, okay. So, what time next week do we want to reconvene here? Do we want to make it a Thursday thing?
Um, how about we? Well, are you good with making it like a Wednesday thing?
Yeah, we can make it a Wednesday thing.
Because I'm betting everybody, especially on the ones that, um, yep, they agreed the mist. Especially the TikTok viewers, with it being October, they'll probably enjoy more Halloween story. But I'm going to do the one about the Skinwalker next week, since that's been all over
Okay, so you're
YouTube.
going to do Raz T. Slasher's story. Let's see, what was it
Yeah,
called? There's something different about her, I think it's called.
yeah. Because
Okay.
TikTok's been real popular with Skinwalkers. So
Okay.
that would be perfect.
Yeah, it's called There's Something Different About Her. I will put the deets up on where to find it
How
on
about
the
that
thing.
next week, guys? You wanted me to read that to you?
It's one of my favorites of Skinwalker books. And then see. I think I want to do Apocalyptic Truths by Serena Mossgraves. Unless I can talk Serena Mossgraves into coming on here herself and have
That would
her
be
read it.
that kind of fits though with what we've been watching. Like I've been watching The 100,
Oh,
so the apocalypse thing that fits really well.
I've been mainly working through. I've been watching a whole lot of kids shows and working through making the content to put up for the different stories and the Dark Dreams anthology duo.
Nice. Have you
And
started any Halloween crafts with the kids yet?
no, I'm just trying to get through next Saturday.
Deal. I can understand that.
We're
Definitely.
doing the birthday party.
Mm. Yay! Birthday cake.
Oh yeah, we get to have Car's birthday cake. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome. I just say that because I miss cake right now. Like I can't have cake right now.
Well, the thing is, I got children. I have to have cake. And he's like, I want Car's cake.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. And then the lady's like, yes, I can do a Car's cake for you. So of course, Lightning and Mater are going to be right there on top.
I agree. Arthur says Stephen King, The Outsiders, is amazing. It is.
Awesome. Hey, Arthur, are you on any of the other socials?
Jenny wants to know if you have added or on any other social platforms. And she also wants. He says, "I am yes." Well, I
Okay.
hope I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, ask them if they can go comment, find the Corpse Garden Chronicles and comment on one of the posts. That way we can say hi on other platforms.
Hopefully, y'all heard my sister. She said comment so she can say hi on the other platforms because, like I said, you can't see her from this end, but she is on YouTube.
Yeah.
We thought it would be fun to do different streaming lives to, give different angles of the story and all that. So,
Oh yeah.
and of course,
Yes.
Rowdy had to join. He's like, "Hi."
Rowdy's always welcome. Okay. We are hitting the hour mark. So I'm gonna bring you up and you tell people where you want them to find you.
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Paramore Concubine. So I'm on there, and then on YouTube at Corpse Chronicles. That is my page on YouTube. And thanks for joining us. And hopefully, we can give you more scary stories this month, especially since Halloween's coming up and everything. Make it more fun.
Okay. You can find me my main pages are Friday on Our Girl Friday on TikTok. On Friday with the Library in the Blue Box is my Facebook page. Friday Blues Disorganized Library is my Facebook group. And of course, you can find me on the Owlite Network and Fae Corps, and I can talk to you on all the places. And of course, Corpse Garden Chronicles, where I am co-partner on, however you say that. And we want to thank all of you for coming and watching us today.
Yes, thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.